Hi everyone, it's Justine here from House of Mahalo. Thanks so much for joining me. So I'm just coming on to do a bit of a different video. I'm in planning mode at the moment, and I thought I would share the video in case this is useful to anyone. Rather than me just sit here on my lonesome doing it on my own, it may be useful, so I thought I would just pop the camera on and share what I'm doing. Okay, so those of you that have been with me for a while will remember that at the beginning of last year, I did a challenge called the Finish It in 4 challenge. And the idea was pretty simple. We got to January of the new year, and we were going to take a project that had been sitting around for a while and break it down into 4 manageable tasks to finish the project. So, that could be decorate cover, bind pages in, add ephemera, finish tags, decorate pages, things like that, where we were really going to break down the projects. And at the time, it was very useful for me. I definitely got a project finished that I'd been sitting on for at least a year, and I know a lot of you found it useful as well. Well, I have since given the challenge a little bit of a revamp, where I now have this workbook type thing to go with it, which I'm going to go through and try and fill in myself today. And I thought I would just share in case it's useful. So if you do want to have a look into the challenge and get my notes on how to approach this kind of thing and get the workbook, then I will leave a link down below. It's just something that you can sign up for with your email address. And I'm going to share a little bit today because it may be useful for breaking down projects, because I hope that, I myself have a lot of unfinished projects. This is my box or my drawer, I should say, but it's a big box, a big drawer of unfinished projects, and they're all at different stages. Some are nearly done, some are half done, some are just in the planning stages, and I should probably add these 2 folders because these are in the planning stages, where I've spent time on these projects, at least an hour per project, if not more than that, and they're just sitting there. They're not being finished. They're not being progressed. And it's weird because when you have unfinished projects, especially as many as what I do, there's at least a dozen in there, it can sometimes feel a little bit like a weight or an anchor dragging you down, because you want to go on to do these new projects. You want to be inspired and ready to go. But then you've got all of these projects that is like, well, what about me? You've forgotten about me, and they just they just stay on your brain, don't they? And I think that is really affecting my creativity at the moment. So I'm going to take the Finish It in 4 challenge, and I'm going to spend at least 4 weeks doing it. I might do some more in the after that, but I'm at least going to get 4 weeks done, because I think I can get some stuff done in that time. So I'm going to give myself a challenge to do it in 4 weeks. And I'm just going to share a little bit about the workbook and a little bit about how I'm going to go about doing things, because this might be useful. So here we are. Okay, so the workbook. I have, as I said, I've revamped the challenge since before. And I've been taking a lot of courses on planning and stuff. So that's kind of where the revamp has come from, me taking these other courses. And basically, I have come up with a 4-step process for actually getting on top of our finished projects. And within that, we can then break down each project into bite-sized tasks. So if we just focus on the first step, take stock of what you've got. So the idea is, like I've done here, I found all of my unfinished projects and I've put them all in one drawer. I've gone through my whole craft room to find them. I had stuff in different folders, I had stuff in different boxes, and I decided I was just going to try and fit as much as I could in this drawer. And then I've got the 2 folders that couldn't fit, but they are at least organised. So that's the first step, is to go through and find out exactly what you've got. And the reason for that is because you're not going to be able to plan effectively if you don't know how many unfinished projects you've got. You might have overestimated, you might have underestimated, you might just not remember. So the idea is for us to really take stock of what we got, and we're going to go through each project and understand what it is that we have to do for the project. So what is there left to do? So that's what this first step is all about. So for me, I have a very good idea of how much work is involved in each project, which is fine. But if you're unsure, if you really can't remember things, then it's a good idea to get everything in one place and then go through each project. So for example, if I take my altered book journal as an example, I know that I need to do the cover and the beginning pages, and then I know that I had the summer pages left to do, because every summer since I started this, I hit a snag with my creativity. I don't know, because I don't know why, but that's why that one's unfinished. And so it's a case of just getting those pages done, getting the cover done, and then this one is finished. So I sort of have a good idea of that myself. Oh, whoops, daisy. But you might not have as good an idea. So that's the first step, is to get everything out and have a good look through each one and get a sense of how much effort, time and energy is required for each one. So it's just, yeah, getting a good idea of what you've got so that you can start making the plans that you need to. Step 2 is all about organising your thoughts. So sometimes it's a good idea to do this depending on how many you've got. You may want to make piles based on how much energy, time and effort is required for each one. And I usually look at this from low, medium, high. So for example, if I think about the altered book journal, I would call that probably medium effort, because it's just a few more pages, it's just the cover. So it's probably going to take me maybe a few more hours to finish it. That's not too bad, that's medium. Versus a project that I have spent an hour planning, but I haven't actually started it yet in terms of, like I know where everything's going, but I haven't actually glued anything down. That would be a high effort, high energy, high time project. And there are steps in this workbook where you can start writing some stuff down. So I'm going to do that today, because yeah, this is partly for me to hold myself accountable to actually use the workbook and use my own advice to try and get a tackle on this box. Okay, so that's what we want to do, is we want to organise the projects by how much time, how much energy, how much effort we think they're going to take. And we're going to make sure that we're making notes as we go along. And then once we've done that, we can get a feeling for, how do you feel right now? How much energy do you have? Are you invigorated for the challenge? When you know if you're going to start it, what projects are you raring to get going on? We're going to go through all of that. So I think my first step is to actually fill in this box, which is what my current unfinished projects are. And next to them, I'm going to put whether they're high, medium or low. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, I have gone through all of my projects and I found some more. I found some more that were sitting on my desk that I hadn't added to the drawer. So I've got them all written down now. So this is just everything that I'm currently facing. And the way that I considered an unfinished project is anything that I've spent more than an hour on. So in some cases, they are projects like this where I've started building up how I want a journal to be. I've even planned out like what I'm going to have for the cover or something. It's just not built yet. I would consider that unfinished because I've clearly put some time and effort into planning the project, rather than just add to my list, one day I want to make a blah 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 journal. I've actually started doing something with it. So I have counted those as unfinished, even if they're not technically, like for example this one, you know, the cover is done and I've planned the pages. I've even been clipping in ephemera. They're obviously different stages of unfinished, but I consider them still unfinished. Okay, so I've got my piles on my desk. So these ones here are low effort, time, energy. These ones are medium, where my hand is over here. And then in the box is the high effort stuff. And I've also, where necessary, I've also just sort of made a note to myself on the list here, whether they're high, low, medium effort. And I've also made a couple of notes about just things that I know that I need to do, just to keep myself organised. But that's what I've got. So if I go back to my little worksheet, so I have got step 1 complete. I've got all of my projects out. I have written down everything that's unfinished, and I have categorized them by high, low, medium, effort. Okay, so the next step says here, I'm reading my own notes, but yeah, I made this, so I'm following it. Okay, so I said, based on how you're feeling right now, choose which projects you'll focus on first. And I've said 1 or 2 in 4 weeks. And you might want to have a split between high, low, medium, effort. So for example, if I think about a 4-week period, I may be able to get 2 low effort projects finished in that time, maybe a little bit of a medium one, but that sort of thing, yeah? Versus maybe 4 weeks you get 1 high effort project or 1 medium effort. You might want to have a split like that. And you also want to base it on how you're feeling, because at different periods of the year you're going to have different, just naturally as a human being we have ebbs and flows of our energy and our inspiration and creativity and all of that. So you really want to check in with how you're feeling now. Are you geared up for the challenge? In which case, maybe you want to give yourself more of a challenge. So maybe you want to tackle one of the high effort projects. Or if you're feeling, you know, Justine, I'm tired. I'm tired. It's, you know, just not the right time for me, but I do want to still get some stuff done. Then maybe you'll just want to pick like 1 or 2 low effort projects, or maybe even just 1. You really want to base it on how you're feeling and how much you want to get done in the 4 weeks as well. So a check-in for me. How am I feeling? I'm actually feeling geared up. I was feeling geared up to do this video, which is why I was doing it. But also actually having everything written down and in piles, I'm not going to lie, it is a lot. There is a lot here, and and part of this process is I really want to get a tackle on why I ended up in this phase anyway, because I don't want that to happen next year. I don't want it to be that I always have unfinished projects, like 1 or 2, yeah, sure, maybe, but I don't want all of these. I really don't. So I do want to get a tackle on that. But if I'm being completely honest with you, I thought I was going to feel really overwhelmed by seeing all of them together. I was thinking like, I need to know what I've got, but is it going to be a lot? And actually having them split out into these piles is making it feel less overwhelming. So that's good. Check there. And there are some projects in here where I'm like, you know, that's just going to take a couple of hours and it will be finished. So I'm feeling geared up, but also I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. So the next step is for me to focus on 1 or 2 projects in a 4-week period. So I'm going to have a little bit of a think about what I'm going to tackle, and then I'm going to commit by writing it down. And obviously plans can always change. We can have good intentions in the beginning, things can always change, but I at least want to say what I'm intending to do. I want to set an intention. Right, I have decided what I'm going to focus on first, and there are more here than I originally thought that I would do. So I said to myself 1 or 2 projects in a 4-week period. But when I actually looked at the steps involved in some of these, honestly, some of these things really don't need much work from me at all. Versus some that are a little bit more involved. But here is what I'm going to set an intention for the next 4 weeks for myself. I think I can get all of these low effort projects finished, because honestly some of them are pretty much nearly there. So if I consider this, all I need to do is put some very simple pages in, decorate the cover, and it's a notebook. I've got a few of those. This one just wants, so I made this recently for the Desk Glass Challenge, and all it wants is I was going to cover up these hinges where the holes didn't quite go in the place where I wanted them to. So I was just going to go through and just add a little bit of torn paper to each of those pages just to cover that up. And then that one is a finished project, which just wants bundling up with some ephemera and then putting into my shop. So those are, you know, really low effort things to do. This Edith, so those are the low effort projects. So I want to get all of those done. Then I've got 2 medium effort projects. So I've got this Edith Holden tag book that I've been doing in the membership, and it is mostly on its way to being a thing. I need to fill the pockets, so all of the pockets want filling, a little bit of decorating on the front and back covers, and maybe a couple of the pages. This page wants something, and then another pocket to fill, and that's it. That's the end of it. So I could get that done in, you know, a couple of afternoons, surely. Then I have my Secret Garden large journal, so that's this one, which I think I did the cover with you a while back. And then at some point over the summer, I decided what signatures I was going to have. I even started clipping in ephemera and like flip outs and pockets and things. So I think the next steps for me on this one is to finish the pages. So some of them want trimming and like gluing together or whatever. Bind them in, and then add the ephemera, decorate, and it's done. So again, I could probably get that done in a few short sessions. So those are the journals that I'm committing to finishing in the next 4 weeks. Wish me luck, but that's at least what I want to try and do. Then I have said high effort projects. Now, normally I would say that would be enough for the 4 weeks, and yes, definitely, those are the things that I think I'll be able to get finished. I don't think I'll get more than that done, but I also do want to progress, and I've said progress, not finish, progress my 2 packaging folios. So these are high effort projects where, so I planned these a year ago. So I knew that I was going to use this mince pie box for this, and it was going to be it was going to be a writing signature or 2, and it was going to have like some flip outs and things. And I even went so far as to plan what the flip outs are. You know, all of these envelopes are clipped together because I already knew what order I was going to have things be. So to me, that is a project that I've spent time planning it. So I at least want to progress it in the next 4 weeks. And I've got another one which is a very similar packaging, but it's a Yankee candle box. And I'm going to build them in the same way. They're different themes, but I'm going to build them together in the same way. So I think that will get those done. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to finish those in the 4 weeks, because this is what I'm finishing. But I at least want to do a step on each of those, you know, get them to a point where I'm sort of in the flow of it, because, you know, I've spent time planning these things, so I really should get a move on. So that is what I am saying I'm going to do for the next 4 weeks. Now, in truth, I'll be honest with you, I am thinking that I need to do this challenge for 12 weeks in order to actually finish everything. But I didn't want to go into it saying I'm going to do 12 weeks because, you know, we've got Christmas coming up and, you know, anything can happen. Instead, I thought to myself, I'm going to break it down even further and say, no, do 4 weeks, get a feel for how you're doing, and then come back and do another 4 weeks if you feel like it. So I just wanted to share that is what I'm doing. So where's the, so where are we? So we've taken stock of what we've got. So I know all the projects that I want doing, they're all categorized. I've written down everything in the workbook. I have decided which projects I'm focusing on first, and I have a good split between the different effort and energy projects. Okay, so the next step, make a plan. So now that we know what projects we're doing, so as I mentioned, these are the things that I'm doing. We then want to make a mini task list for each project. Now, you could do this all at the beginning. So whilst you're sitting here in planning mode, if you are thinking that you might do something similar, you might want to just get a task list down for each project. So what I mean by that, go a project at a time. So for example, I've got this tag book. I know that I need to do something here on the front cover to make it more exciting. I know I need to decorate something there and fill pocket there. I fill pocket, fill belly band. add a label, fill belly band, do something decorative on the back here, probably add a label, do something to this page, fill pocket, add label. That is a task list for that project to be finished. You see what I mean? Where it's really broken down into these mini tasks. Now, you want to do that for each project that you've got. The ones that you're prioritizing, these are the ones I'm going to focus on for the next 4 weeks. You want to do a task list for each project. You may want to do it where you do all the projects in one go, where you say, this is my task list for this project, my task list for that one, my task list for that one. If that's going to overwhelm you, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do it that way. Choose which one you're going to do first and make a task list for that project. So you're really breaking it down even further. Then when you're ready to do the next project, you'll sit down, you have a planning session. This is what I need to do. You write your tasks down. Okay? And we're really going to break down the process, because if you look at the project as a whole, so in this case, finish Edith Holden tag journal, it can feel overwhelming to be like, well, it's not finished for a reason. If it was that easy, it'd be finished already. But when you break it down into those little tasks, fill pocket on page 1, fill pocket on page 2, decorate, add label, once you break it down into that, it really does seem far less overwhelming, far less scary. So I hope that you all agree with me on that. So if we have a think about the workbook. So I know what projects I'm focusing on. Now inside this workbook, if you do decide to use this, there are, if I could get my fingers to turn the page, I've made these mini action plans for each week, and I envision it being that you want to use like a task list. So say for example your goal for the week 1 is to I'm going to get the low effort projects done in weeks 1 and 2 maybe, and then from there you can have like a little task list and you can really note it down. Now what I might do, I might actually add some more sheets to this workbook, thinking about it, where it might be useful to have this be something like this, where this is your first project and you've got a task list for that individual project. I think that's what I'm missing. So there we go. I think I will add that into the workbook. So I'm going to make a note for my projects of what I need to get done. And yeah, I'm really going to break them down. I'm just trying to decide whether I want to do all of the planning in one go or just take it a project at a time. I think in my case, I will probably do at least these low and medium projects. I think I will do all of the planning now for them, because I imagine that I could get these done, fairly quickly. The high effort projects I'm going to leave until I've done these, because I want to see how I'm feeling after getting all these finished, because these weren't things that I said I was going to finish. These are just things that I want to progress. So I want to wait and do these first. So I'm going to make a mini action plan for each of these projects, which I won't do now. I won't do as part of the video, because it might take me a little bit of time to do that. But that's what you want to be doing for that particular step of the process. So I will do that myself in a minute. So then once you've got your task list for the projects, you can then get on with finishing the project. And I have said about getting a couple of tasks done each week, if you can commit to that. It really depends on how much time you've got, how much the project's going to take. But in a lot of cases, I have found that once you break down a project into bite-sized chunks, it becomes, 4 main tasks that you can do in 4 weeks for a project. And that's generally what I have found, which is why I'm saying to myself, if I can get these done in 4 weeks, maybe I can do a 12-week challenge for myself in order to get a handle of all of my unfinished projects. But we'll see how I feel after the 4 weeks. Okay, and then in the workbook, there's just also some stuff that you can write down with, if you're going to do this challenge, what are you going to reward yourself with? Now, it might be reward enough to think, it feels so good to get these projects finished and off of my brain so I can focus on new things. So a reward might be, if I finish these projects, I can start something new. maybe, or maybe that's, if that helps you. Or if I get all of these projects finished, I get to go out for an evening with my husband, I don't know. If I get these projects finished, I'm going to have a long bubble bath. It's just something that you can just recognise that once you've hit your milestone, whatever that is, obviously it's a reward to say, I finished these projects and that's going to feel good. But if there's something else that you want to reward yourself with, then you might want to put that down. So for me, this is what I'm going to say. This might be a bit of an unusual reward, but I think this is something that's really going to motivate me, which is if I commit to getting these low and medium projects finished, my reward is that I can start working on the packaging folios. Because I'll be honest with you, I am really itching to dive into those. And I'm trying to tell myself, no, you're going to finish these, then you can do that. So for me, that is a reward. I might also reward myself with something else, but that for me is reward. So I've written that down. I'm allowed to start work on the packaging folios if I get these things on my right finished. And then once you get to the end, you can say, what have you achieved that month? What are you celebrating? So that you're really checking in with the fact that you're getting these things done. Rather than just, I don't want it to be that we finish our projects and then we just rush into the next thing. I know I have a tendency to do that, but I am going to still take a breather to say, you know what, I finished those and that was good. Well done you. Okay, and then there's also something else in the workbook, which is around procrastinating, because a lot of the reasons why we have unfinished projects is because, there is a lot of reasons why we could have unfinished projects, but a lot of the reasons are probably going to come down to, I procrastinated. I put them off for a particular reason. Now, sometimes your creativity and your mojo just go walkabouts, and that is not really anything you can control as such. There are things that you can do to help when that happens, but it's mostly out of your control when it does. So that's not a form of procrastination. That is just simply my mojo just went out the window. It went somewhere. It went for a walk. But there are other cases where you might be procrastinating with something, or you might have an unfinished project because you're procrastinating, and there might actually be a genuine reason why you're procrastinating. And for me, there are a lot of reasons that I procrastinate, and I'm gonna take a moment now to just write down what I'm feeling, and I'm actually going to share it because this may be beneficial to some of you. If you're feeling a similar way, it might be useful to have somebody just talk about it, share it, so that A, you're not alone, and B, I'm going to share some tips for myself on how I can avoid procrastinating in the future. So I'm just going to take a moment to write this down, and then I will share what I came up with. Okay, so here are some things that I've come up with. So the first box here, I procrastinate. So there's some reasons that I do procrastinate. Sometimes my mojo just isn't there, and sometimes my creativity goes. But when I procrastinate, it's because I'm worried that a project won't turn out like how I have it in my head. And that comes from, and I've put an arrow there because it comes from a fear of perfectionism and all of that sort of stuff. Now, junk journals have started to cure me of this a bit, but I am still a perfectionist sometimes. And you've probably seen it on video. I do try very hard to say, no, done is better than perfect. But I spent a lifetime of trying to be a perfectionist for my family. And it's only been in the last few years that I've realised that actually for my own health, I just need to be okay with a project, especially a creative project. Sometimes it will be different from what you've got in your head, and that's okay. Sometimes it'll be better than what's in your head. And I need to sort of start really realising that myself, because I don't think I've ever had a project turn out the way that I had originally planned or had in my head originally. But I tell you what, it always ends up turning out better. And the in-between steps, so you might be working on a project and thinking, well, it's not turning out the way that I had hoped, it's not looking like how I want. Generally speaking, if we stick with it, if the creativity is there, so you don't want to force it, but if the creativity is there, by the time you get to the end of the project, you can look back at it and say, well, that worked out. It might have looked a little bit horrendous halfway through, but it worked out in the end. and that can happen. So I do need to stop getting so in my head about things and just accept that a project may turn out differently, and that's okay, and to trust myself that sometimes, and in a lot of cases, it will turn out better. So some other reasons that I procrastinate, and this is for me as somebody that does YouTube videos, I've said if I'm not filming it, I don't make the time, and that is true. I make a lot of time for videos when I'm able to, and if I'm not filming a project or if I'm not doing something to share with people, it's almost like the accountability isn't there, and it just becomes, oh, I'll just do this thing instead. I'll just do that, and it just doesn't happen. And I think there are things that I can do to fix that, and I'll go through that in a minute. I've said crafting on camera is hard sometimes. It is, I'm not going to lie. I find it very easy to show the construction of something. When it comes to decorating things, embellishing and decorating and those like little finishing touches, I find that very, very hard to do on camera. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because I'm worried about like how much time something is going to take me if I'm like fiddling about with that's going to go there and there and there and there. And videos, editing that out of a video takes a lot of time, and I think that's why I sort of get caught up in my head sometimes. And I think there are things that I can do about that, so I'll go through that in a minute. I get overwhelmed by my ideas. I have a lot of things I want to try, a lot of things that I want to do, and I get overwhelmed by this great big long list of things and this great big long list of themes I want to do and types of things I want to do. And I think there's some ways that I can break that down for myself. And then I've said here, which is quite funny, I spend more time planning than crafting, which is so very, very true. I do. So for example, this project, this was from a year ago, and I had completely worked out what I was going to do for the cover. So I know exactly how, I know what's going in the window, I know what paper I'm using, I know what I'm decorating it with. I planned out where the envelopes are going and all of that. Completely planned, right? But I spent, an hour doing that, and then, well, it didn't happen. The plan, I didn't put plan into action because I spent all that time planning it. It was then, oh, well, I'll have to come back to this later now because I've run out of time. And then, so that is something that keeps happening to me. And I think there are things that I can do about that as well. So in the box down here about avoiding procrastination, I've said a few things that I think will help me is to make task lists for each project. So the way that I'm breaking it down for this challenge, and I'm going through project by project to find out what needs to be done to finish it, I think it might be useful for me to have little tasks that I can tick off to help me work through a project. Rather than what I normally sit down to do is I start working on a project, I plan it out, I start working on it, and then I don't really register what I've achieved each session. I don't really think about, I've ticked off 5 things from the list. I don't really think like that. So I think that might help me. And similar to that, I've said set goals and mini milestones. So, I've said very, very clearly here in this video, these are the projects I want to get finished in 4 weeks. That is a goal. And that is something that I can say at the end, yes, I achieved it, or no, I didn't. And if I didn't, then I can look into the reasons why. Obviously, I hope that I will achieve the goal, but and there will be mini milestones along the way. There will be, so out of the projects that I'm going to get done, I consider these one project because they're all the same kind of notebook. They all want the same pages. They all want the same sort of covers, and then they're done, right? So I can have a mini milestone to say, yay, I did those. And then, have a little mini celebration. So I think that would probably help me. I've said make time each week to do something. And then I've said about my 15 minutes a day thing. So I shared recently in an email how I try to do 15 minutes each day, and I'll try to do something. A lot of the times at the moment, it is just me planning or sorting or organising. And that was something that I needed to do because my room was a mess. But there's always a little bit of something that we can do. You know, we can just glue a few fussy cuts down. We can do a little bit of that. I do really think that is beneficial. But if you can't manage each day, then there is still once a week you sit down and you say, well, this is what I'm going to do today, and that's your me time. That is your me time. So I think I want to go back to doing that. I've said here I don't have to do everything on video. I don't. I've been very caught up in my ways over the last few years of doing YouTube videos, and again, this is me being very honest. This is like me writing this down for myself as well, but I'm sharing it because it might be of use. I get very caught up in needing to show you like completely finished things. Like I don't want to get to the end of a video and be like, okay, we constructed this thing and that's it, you're on your own, and then I come back and show you a flip through. That's just not me. I know that works for some people, but I just don't. That just doesn't work for me. But equally, what doesn't work for me is feeling like I have to decorate every little thing with you either, because I do think, you know, sometimes I just need to spend a few hours just staring at it, you know, to work out what I'm going to do with the thing. And I can't do that on video for obvious reasons. And where I'm trying to get out videos, at least on a semi-regular basis, obviously I'm taking a little bit of a breather at the moment, but that is, you know, for me, I needed to be honest. I think there is like a certain element of stuff that I can share, and then maybe there comes a time where I'm sharing too much. I don't know. At least for me personally, maybe I do need to get into the habit of sharing enough, but not feeling like I have to share every single little step of the process, because maybe that is too much for me, but also for people watching. I don't know. We'll have to sort of see how that one goes. And then these last couple of points are just in relation to me saying that I get overwhelmed by the amount of ideas that I have. I have started doing 12-week plans rather than yearly plans, where I've set goals for myself for 12-week periods. And the reason that I do that now is because at the start of a year, we often have these goals. This year, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And obviously our creativity and our energy and everything ebbs and flows through the year. And you could be in a very different position a year after when you first set that goal. And because you're still hustling towards getting that goal, it becomes a point where you don't really think, like, you're on the hamster wheel and you don't really think, am I even getting close to this goal? Is this goal even what I want anymore? Is this even possible anymore? You know, I'm a different person than I was 6 months ago in some cases, you know. So I started setting 12-week plans, and that is working a lot better for me, where I just simply say, this is what I want to get done in the next season, and I then from there break it down into smaller like milestones and tasks, and, you know, today I'm doing X, this week I'm doing that X, you know, that sort of thing. And this tip comes from a lady called Sage Grayson, who I found recently. She's a life and a business coach, and she's very, very good. And she was talking about, she does 12-week plans as well, and she was talking about how she'll have a great big long list of ideas, but she doesn't want to work from that because that's very overwhelming. So she'll put ideas in something called a parking lot. Basically, it's just a sheet or a document on the computer or wherever you keep your to-dos. She'll keep stuff in there, and then she'll move things out of the parking lot when she's ready to work on them. And that for me made perfect sense. So for example, that's kind of like what I've done here, where these are all my unfinished projects, but I've just taken out a couple of them to move out of the parking lot, so to speak, and into, this is what I'm going to focus on first. So I can definitely see how that's a lot less overwhelming than just having this great big long list. Every time you come down to do something, right, what am I going to do next? Oh, there's so much to do. Versus, okay, I've got a shorter list, this is what I need to work on. And then when I've gone through these, I can then go back to that parking lot list and I can say, these are the next things that I'm going to work on. You see what I mean? So I think doing that in future, not just for unfinished projects, but just in general, I think will help me. And I've said similar lines, plan a project at a time. So where I'm setting the task lists, I should really do that for a project that I'm about to start work on, not just one that wants finishing. So there we go. I don't know where to go from here. Obviously I need to do my task lists for each project because I've not done that yet because I've been talking to you. So I'm going to do that. Once I've got that done, I'm then going to start breaking it down week by week, I think. So I think in my case, I could get like these finished in week 1 and maybe this one, because they're really not going to take, you know, an afternoon or 2. So that would be like week 1 and sort of go from there. Now, for this series, basically, the way that I saw this being is this is me doing 12 weeks of finishing journals. I'm doing 4 weeks initially. Hopefully I'm going to do 12 weeks in total, but I will see how I feel after the 4 weeks is finished. And I don't know if I'm going to do any videos along the way. I don't know. I might do. I might come on with the odd video. I don't know. I haven't really thought beyond just sharing that I have revamped the challenge and done the workbook, but also just sharing this video of me just sitting down, because having this many unfinished projects is a mountain. It feels like a mountain, but being able to break it down the way that I've done here is so much more manageable now. So I now have the projects that I know that I'm going to get done first. I can see how I am after the 4 weeks, and then I can start tackling some more stuff from the box. And again, we're just going to break it down. So I wanted to come on and just share this video to show that this is how I've decided to do it. In case anyone else out there has so many unfinished projects and you just need that little nudge to say, I'm in the same boat, hello. And there are ways that we can maybe break things down for ourselves so it doesn't feel quite so overwhelming. Now, as I mentioned, I do want to add to this workbook. So by the time you finish this video, there will be a new sheet in here, which will be a task list for an individual project. So I'm going to add that. But by the time this video goes out, that will be available. The challenge and the workbook will be available for you to just, you know, put your email address in and you can get this if you want it. If not, I hope this video has been helpful anyway to show you how I've decided to break this mountain of a goal down into much more inspiring but less overwhelming steps as well, because I think that's the biggest thing for me. My creativity and mojo have gone walkabouts for a few reasons this year, but one of them has been that I have kept trying to like push through, which has resulted in I got this project started. Oh, okay, my mojo went. I've got this project started. Oh no, my mojo's gone. And I kept doing that, rather than just sort of trying to stick with something. I don't know. So if you've got any tips for me in terms of how I can stop procrastinating or how I can break projects down, then absolutely do share, because they might help me, they might help somebody watching this video. How do you stop yourself getting overwhelmed by your ideas? So I think for me, I need to have a list of all the ideas, so I can have like almost like that brain dump list. And then at certain intervals, I need the time to just pull stuff from that list when I'm ready to work on it. Yeah, I think that's what I need to do. But you know, if you've got any tips, I'm willing to try other things, so please do share. I hope that was helpful to somebody. If not, I hope that you just enjoyed listening to me just, you know, waffle on about projects that weren't finishing for however long I've been talking for. But I hope that was helpful to somebody, and keep sharing, I think, is what I would like to say. I would like to say, so this video is not going to be for everyone. Some people will be like, you know what, Justine, I don't care, I just want to see you craft, and that's fine. But for some of you out there, you might find this video useful, and so keep those people in mind when you're sharing stuff, when you're wondering what to post on social media, or you're wondering what to share with your friends and family. I would say, think of the people who this may benefit. because I do think more of us need to share. And even though some of us might be thinking, well, you know, this video, like not many people are going to watch this one, and you know, all of that sort of stuff. I don't want to think like that anymore. I just want to think this might have been useful to somebody, and that's why I filmed it. Maybe I need to write that down in my procrastination journal. Think of the people who this might benefit, even if it doesn't benefit everyone. I'm actually going to write that down. I'm doing it. So on that note, I will say goodbye. I really need you. I need to go get a drink now. I'm sort of talking to myself a little bit hoarse. But I hope that was beneficial. I hope that you got something out of it. And as I mentioned, I don't have any plans for once for this in terms of like doing videos or anything. This is a personal goal, a personal challenge for myself to say, I want to get a handle of this stuff. Of course, there will be videos along the way. I'm sure, you know, when I start a new project, I'm sure I'll be doing videos on them. But for finishing them, it's more of a personal challenge for me to say, I just want to get this done. If I think of something along the way that might be useful to share on video, of course I will. I always will. If not, then you will see the flip throughs when I hopefully finish everything. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I might come on and do like a check-in. Even if it's not a video, I might just do like something where I share. I could maybe share on my email list, you know, in my newsletter, like a PS, this is what I got done today for this particular challenge that I'm doing, or maybe I'll share something on Facebook, or both. So I'll probably do that, because you know, if something isn't worthy of a video, then I don't want to take up time from people just waffling, you know. I'll play it by ear. I'll take it a week at a time, because if there's something that I can show you, I got these finished today, here's the flip through, that would be a check-in. Versus I just filled some pockets this week. I think that could just be a little note, couldn't it? Okay, yeah, that's what I'll do. So I'll just take it a week at a time. However I do it, I will share a weekly update for those who are interested in how I'm getting on with this challenge. And what I would say to you is, if you would like to know the updates, whatever form they take, if they take a video form or a text form, then my email list is always the best place to be. So I will include a link down below for that as well. Just because that is my main hub. You know, my website is where I do most stuff, and like YouTube and everything just kind of feeds into that. So I will share so I will share my subscribe link in case you want to sign up for the emails. If not, I'll see you on some video soon, probably. Speak soon then, everyone. Thanks so much for being here, and I hope that you got something out of today. Thanks.